You're going.
Welcome to Bridging Generations in Sales and Outreach. I'm Butch Nicholson. I'm your host today. This is the show where experience levels up. Uh, I'm really excited today to have Brandon Lee, the founder of Fist Bump, on the call. Complete trans, transparency.
That
I'm
word,
a
which is easy to say.
yeah. I'm the I'm an investor in Fist Bump, and was so excited about what they were doing. Once I became an investor, I work there now. So transparency, you know where we're coming from. We're coming from the same place. I get to grill my boss today.
Grill away.
So Brandon, when I got involved just from the investor side on Fist Bump, I had been out of the B2B world for 10 years. I was I was a partner in a hardscapes company, and it was B2C. I basically dealt with homeowners.
Yeah.
When I got in, I was really surprised how much the buyer journey had changed. And what really surprised me is it had just flipped. I mean, it used to be the salespeople were in charge of the buyer's journey, and now the buyer is. Tell me how that has affected the way sales are done today or should be done today.
Yeah, I mean that's a big loaded question, and it's really happened over the last probably, 15 years. This whole internet thing has changed the way we communicate. It's changed the way all of us research and learn. Yeah, our phones, we learn differently. And then of course you add in the layer of social media where we're all just so inundated with content. What happens basically is buyers don't need salespeople to do their research. And I know in my early career, I thought, oh, I was really good at cold outreach and opening doors and starting conversations. But over the years, what I've learned is back then, buyers used salespeople for information. Right? Salespeople brought them information. And now, because of the internet, because of our phones, because of social media, because of Google, and now even Chat GPT, we don't need sellers for information, and nobody wants to sell. Nobody wants to be sold. Nobody wants to get in conversations they don't want to be in. So buyers have been able to really just kind of keep sellers at bay. We don't have to respond to emails we don't want, especially because we get so many emails. We don't have to answer calls from unknown numbers because they can just leave a voicemail if it's important. And then as buyers, we're always in control. We can call who we want, we can respond to who we want to, but we don't have to. And that's where the buyer journey has really changed. Buyers have total control. And then you add the traditional outreach motions that were, our sales system is very linear. We make calls, we send emails, we try to get their attention, we tell them how wonderful we are and see if they have time for a conversation. So you got these two competing things where buyers are going, stay back, I'll do this on my own in my own time. And then you still have sellers that are trying to break through that wall and get their attention. And it's really, caused a big challenge for selling.
It certainly has. I believe this study may be a little dated, but I believe it's probably still true that buyers have 75% of the information they want before they're.
Yeah, for sure. It's, and that number keeps going up. I mean, I've been watching that data over the last 10 plus years. And it used to be, oh, they'll do 20, 25% of their research before they talk to people. But now it's pushing up over 80%. And to a point that a lot of buyers will already do the research and narrow down one, two, three companies who they want to speak to and then reach out to them when they're ready. And so it means that our traditional outreach, the calls and the emails and all that really are challenged. They're not producing the fruit that they used to. And I think a lot of sales teams are just, they're in a hard spot. They're pedaling faster than ever and getting nowhere, or not nearly as far as they used to.
Yeah, I agree. And all I have to do is look at myself.
Hmm.
I'm not if I don't know who it is, I'm not answering the phone. And you and I've talked about this. When I get up in the morning and have my 40 emails, the first thing I do is look who they're from.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if
It,
you only
it,
have 40, you're blessed, because
well, that's
most
in one
people I've
account.
talked to, yeah, it's a couple hundred, and it's most of it is cold outreach.
So, Brandon, one of the things that you began to talk about, and you may have even coined this term, but tell us about your go to network philosophy.
Yeah, so I didn't coin it, but I am definitely become an early adopter of it. Now, look, I think there's a lot of terms that get created to try and explain something and differentiate, and people use them to sound different than everyone else. But go to network, I think, especially for your audience, a little bit on the Gen X to baby boomer side, it's nothing new. It's just playing out a little bit differently. I mean, so go to market. Let me talk about go to market before I talk about go to network. Go to market traditionally is, what are we as a sales team going to do to go get calls, to go create opportunities and create conversations? And there's nothing wrong with it except for what we just talked about. It's a difficult task because buyers don't want cold calls. They don't want cold emails. They don't want to respond. They don't want to be bugged until they're ready to be bugged. So go to network is really just a bit of a different philosophy. And yeah, I say this a lot, and I know you like it. Nothing has changed. We just do it differently. Go to network is about, how do we go into the community of our industry where our buyers are and become important? How do we become known? How do we build relationships? How do we build, if you want to use the word personal brand, I like using reputation, that how do you go into a space and become a voice that people start to listen to? So that's really go to network, is where go to market is, let's go in and get calls. Go to network is more of, hey, let's go in and get involved. Let's serve. Let's share. Let's build relationships. Let's become important. And then through those relationships is where all the opportunities come. If we're not known, the chances of our company being an opportunity for a buyer drops dramatically. And the way that we become known is not through cold calls and cold emails. Again, I'm going to keep saying it. There's nothing wrong with cold outreach. I'm not against cold outreach. What I'm pro, though, is how can we turn cold outreach into warm outreach? And we talk about the goals of, when we do send a message to somebody, if they say, oh yeah, you know what, I know who you are, or I feel like I know you, or I've seen your content, or I've seen you as part of community, they're much more likely to say yes, because they already feel like, oh, I've seen you, you're in the community, I've seen the stuff that you talk about, you already have a reputation, you already have some influence over me, I already look at you a bit as a trusted advisor or somewhere on that scale, because of the type of content that you share, the places you go, the people you talk to, the network that you have. All of those things are just so many little variables that we could start to stack up to improve our opportunity for success.
Absolutely. So, Brandon, the thing that bothers me the most on LinkedIn
Hmm.
is the pitch slap.
Yeah.
Hey, can we connect? And then 5 minutes later, we're going to have 30 minutes of your time to give you a demo.
Yeah.
Uh, but what follows that is the company post that's a big, shiny, looks wonderful, professionally done bulletin board piece for the company.
Right.
And then find out what happens is, all 10 salespeople post the same thing and they all comment on each other's post. And then they
Mhm.
think they got great engagement, but all the engagement is with people in the company.
Yeah, it's LinkedIn and content overall has evolved pretty rapidly. And I would say, 10 years ago, hey, what's our value proposition? What do we do? And all that captured attention. I think, the internet is still in its infancy. I know, a lot of us been using it for, almost 20, 25 years, but it's still social, and all this content and free access to content is still in its infancy, 10, 15 years. Um, so, I this is a little controversial, and I get people looking at me quizzically, but I think one of the mistakes that we all made, understandably so, is that we gave social and content to the marketing teams. I believe marketing is used to talking at people, and salespeople know that you have to talk with people. You have to be in conversation. So here's the best example I like to give. If you're at a live event, you're in a room, there's a bunch of people, and you look over and you see somebody, you see their name tag, you look at their title of the company, you're like, oh, that's somebody I really want to get to know. You walk up to them and you take out your brochure and you put it in their face and you say, hey, we do XYZ. I think it would be really good for you. Do you have time for coffee tomorrow? Right? We don't do that. I mean,
Right.
at least you shouldn't do that, right? I mean, some people do, I get it, but overall, we don't do that in a face-to-face environment. Why? It's not effective. If we lead with the brochure, we lead with the product, we lead with the service, we lead with the features and functions, we come off as being pitchy and salesy and aggressive, and people go, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, you know, back off, slow down there, right? And then they can't get away from us fast enough. And that's the analogy I give to the consistency of the brochure type messages. Look, there should be some of that, right? We've got to tell people who we are and what we do, but people don't want to connect with brands, at least not in B2B. They want to connect with people. And what really captures our attention is when people are sharing their journey. They're sharing, so I saw a video this morning, and very, very simple. It started with, a question that we've been asked a lot this week is, and they just said the question, and then they went through and they started answering the question. That's the type of content that's going to capture attention, because people, they do want to learn, they want to understand things, they just don't want to be pitched. So it's just that slight difference between going hard into like, hey, here's who we are and here's what we do and this will be good for you, but sharing the same type of information but from a different approach, if you will. In the live environment, we may go up to somebody, we go, hey, that's somebody I want to meet. We go up to them and we start a conversation. Hey, nice to meet you. Tell me a little bit about you. Or, hey, do you come to this event a lot? Have you been here before? Like, we look for ways to build connection first before we try to move it into, hey, tell me a little bit more about your company. Oh, let me tell you about what I do. We look for, like, you're wearing a polo shirt and you got a logo on it. I may go up to you and I go, hey, that's really cool. What is that? Like, we look for ways to just start building some sort of rapport, because the early stages are usually about checking each other out, right? Tell me a little bit about you. Is this somebody that I like? Is this somebody I could see having a deeper conversation with? We're going through that stage of like assessment. Is this somebody I want to keep talking to? And if we come on too strong, nobody wants to talk to that person. It's the exact same thing with content. We have to lead with the human. That's why I like leader-led content. And we share the same type of information, but from a different strategy. Hey, I had this question asked. Hey, I was in a conversation the other day. We have a client that's going through this. This is what's going on. This is what they're struggling with. This is how they're feeling. This is what they're observing in their industry or observing in their company. This is what they're thinking about. That type of content draws people in because it's more human, and you're learning what other people are doing or how they're approaching things versus, hey, we've got these 5 functions that will do XYZ for you. It's not a huge difference, but it's a big enough approach and a strategy or a style approach that if we just lead with features, functions, product, service, what we do, most of us just go whoosh. And you nailed it, Butch. Think about, for everybody, think about your own approach. What captures your attention? Like, just spend some time, go through the LinkedIn news feed or any other social, start going through the news feed and see what captures your attention. That's the style of content you should be creating. If it captures your attention, it's probably going to capture other people's attention. And what most of us do, oh, brochure, oh, that's a pitch, oh, that's brand message, oh, that's a sales approach. Oh, somebody's sharing their journey, somebody's sharing something they've been through. We stop, we pay more attention to it.
Yep, for sure. Humans want to deal with humans.
Yeah, we sure do.
So
Absolutely.
one, not often, but one objection that I do get from CEOs is, well, I don't want to promote myself. I only want to promote the company.
Yeah. One of the ways I like to answer that is to ask a question and just say things like, hey, if you think of the company Apple, who do you think of? And normally people go, oh, Steve Jobs. I go, oh, why? Oh, well, bottom line, what Steve Jobs did really well with Apple was he led with his person. He led with being Steve Jobs and shared from a place of experiences, and it elevated the brand Apple. Bill Gates did the same thing with Microsoft. There's great examples. Those are just big companies, but there's great examples of that. I mean, think about in my career, what I've always noticed, the number one salesperson in any company, whether it's the CEO, like CEO led sales or a sales leader, the number one salespeople, I'm going to say tend to, but I want to say always, and I will say always, they're the ones who are most connected in the industry. They're the ones who are most well known. They're the ones who are really a part of the community, and most of their opportunities come through that, or because they're so well known, when they do the cold outreach, they make a call to somebody, the person on the other line goes, oh yeah, I totally know who you are, let's talk. That's it. I mean, we could end this session, our episode right now, and just focus on that, and that alone is the key. And then you go, okay, well, in this modern world where we have LinkedIn, we have content, we have video, we have podcasts, how do we become more known in the industry? Well, provide great information that people want to consume, they want to learn, they want to hear, they want to be a part of, and community will come. And you're in the center of it.
I had an interesting conversation with a sales leader in the last 10 days. And he said to me, well, when would I know I was influential in my industry?
It's a good question.
And
how'd you answer it?
I said, who in your industry, if they were coming to town and going to make a 1-hour talk, would you absolutely not miss hearing it?
Oh, that's good.
And he came up with a name. And I said,
yeah.
So we know he's influential.
Yeah. And then you work backwards and go, why?
Well, I said, well, what I did, I said, why? And he talked for 10 minutes and nothing about anything the company does came up in it.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. If we just look at our own behavior, we can see the trends. Like, so who do you follow? Why do you follow them? What podcasts are you subscribed to? Or what YouTube channels do you follow? And then you just ask yourself, why? Normally it's because I learn from them. I enjoy it. I get value out of it, whatever that right answer is. But it always comes down to there's something valuable about this for me every day, or there's something valuable about this for me in my role that I'm drawn to it because I feel good about paying attention to it. It makes me better. It makes me feel informed. It makes me feel connected, anything like that. Then we just pause and we flip it and go, how do I become that voice in my industry?
Yep. And I don't think the answer is ever going to be, well, he knows all 14 things about the widget they make.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he or she does know the 14 things, but if you lead with those 14 things, the audience backs off.
Right. So, Brandon, tell us about your your new three-part model. I'm not going to say any more about what it's called because I'll give it away.
Yeah. Yeah, so here's the three parts. Because people want to connect with people, and it's not just they want to, they're drawn to it. Our humanity is drawn to people. We learn from people. We get motivated by people. We get excited by learning from other people, their journey, their experiences, what they're thinking, what they're going through. So leader-led content is so important. And I know I know it's hard. I know there's I didn't want to get into content. It took me a long time before I started realizing like I need to do this. But I finally got to the point I realized like at the beginning of my career, my first sales job, I kept being told I have to go to these networking events. And I was like, I don't want to go to networking events. Like, I don't want to go do this. I just want people to come to me and go, hey, I'm ready to buy something. Right. I mean, a lot of salespeople were inherently lazy. We go the path of least resistance. The challenge is the path of least resistance doesn't produce fruit. So, I had to learn and build new muscles, learn new skills about how to go to a networking event and make it valuable for me. I had to learn how to start communicating with people. I had to learn how to start conversations. I had to learn how to ask good questions. I had to learn how to get outside of my own nervousness or hesitation to go and put myself into these rooms and have a goal. Hey, when I'm in this room, what do I want to accomplish? Hey, if I can walk away with 5 good business cards and good conversations that I could lead to a meeting over the next couple weeks, this is successful. Great. How do you do that? You don't do it by walking in and going to everybody and go, do you want a meeting next week? Do you want a meeting? No, you go in and you have conversations, you ask questions, you get to know people, you let them get to know you. You move it to the stage where you have the trust enough to ask for a meeting. So the three-part framework is leader-led content. When leaders are sharing their journey, they're sharing their experiences, they're sharing what they've been through, what they've lived, what they've learned, what they're observing in the industry, what they're thinking, what they're talking about. Hey, I was talking with a client, they asked this question. We talked about these 3 things. When you share that type of content, especially as a leader, people listen. I know your audience is older. Remember the old E.F. Hutton commercials? Pretty funny, right? Everybody, it's a big crowded room at or restaurant. Everyone's having dinner, and somebody goes, "Well, my broker's E.F. Hutton," and E.F. Hutton says, and everyone goes and leans in and listens, right? That's what we're going for, right? That's what we want to accomplish. When leaders talk, people want to listen. They want to pay attention. I'll give this another analogy too. And at the top form is this leader-led content. Think about in your companies, whether you're the leader or not the leader, how often in a conversation or a meeting or at a meeting that's scheduled at a trade show do we go, ooh, CEO, could you join me for this meeting, even just for a few minutes? Can you pop in and say hi? Why do we do that? CEO's presence is important. It demonstrates I care. It demonstrates I'm active. It demonstrates that we're, you're important for me to take the time to come and meet you and shake your hand and share a little bit about the vision of the company. CEO and leaders, overall leadership, their presence is so important. That's why leader-led content is so important. And without leaders creating content, we only have marketing content. We only have brand messages. And as we kept saying already today, just in the whatever 20 some minutes we've been on, nobody wants to connect with the brand, not in B2B. We want to know the people behind it. So leader-led voice, sharing their journey, sharing their experiences, what they're thinking, what they're observing, getting to know them is the fastest way to build your brand. So in leader-led content, but then the next stage is, well, what type of content? And, I've been doing content since the 90s. 98 was my first content company. 97, we started working on it, launched it in 98. And I talk about resonance, right? We need content that builds connection, not content that promotes, especially now. There's so much promotional content. Generative AI has just increased the amount of content that companies are creating, but it's always promotional. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is how we help. I mean, all this content that promotes And if any of us just pause for a second, again, think about on your own scrolling. Do you pay attention to that content or do you just scroll right past it? If we're being honest, most of the time we scroll right past it because we don't want to be pitched. So content that builds connection. What does that mean? Well, it means what I've been saying. When leaders are sharing information of what have I lived? What have I gone through? What have I learned over the years? What am I learning currently? What am I observing in the industry? What am I thinking about? What am I concerned about? That type of content builds connection because you're demonstrating your humanity, and it gives people, and this is really important, it gives readers the opportunity to connect with you, to say, I identify with them. I get their journey. I resonate with their journey. And what it does is it builds more of an emotional connection. This is really important. Content that promotes is logical. Logic makes us think, but it quickly leaves our brain. If we're not ready for it, it leaves our brain. Content that connects goes to the heart and then to the brain because we feel connected. Oh my gosh, I didn't know this leader had gone through that. Well, that's a really interesting perspective. I like the way that they addressed that. It's a very different conversation than features, functions, products, and services. So that second stair is connect versus promote. And then the third layer, and this is really important, and this is where so many leaders don't get to, they don't realize the value of their leader-led content. All that content fuels the rest of the outreach engine. So if you are doing cold outreach, which you should, we have options. Option one, hey, we do XYZ. Do you have 30 minutes for a call? Boring, ignored, sounds like everybody else. Option B, hey, our CEO, our leader, our president has this show and podcast. On this episode, they talked with so-and-so's the guest, and they talked about this topic. Here's 3 key points they made. And maybe even you add in there is like, here's a link to the video. And at the 20-minute and 50-second mark, they start talking about this topic. At the 31-minute mark, they talk about this topic. Make it easy for people. But now you're sharing information that would be valuable to them instead of information that is promoting you. So that leader-led content that's designed to connect and share journey and experiences fuels, it can fuel phone scripts. Instead of calling going, hey, we do XYZ, do you got 30 minutes for a call? Hey, Butch, I'm leaving this message just to let you know, I'm going to shoot you an email with the link. Our CEO led a roundtable discussion. They led a podcast episode. They were talking with such and such person as a guest, and this is the topic. I'm going to send you an email, and there's like 5 different links in there to specific points with on these topics that you might be interested in. Send that. Leave that as a voicemail. Follow up a few days later and go, hey, I wanted to see if you got a chance to take a look at it. Was it beneficial? Can I help you in any way? Can we have a conversation about it? Or follow up with, hey, we've heard people responding this way to the episode. Be valuable to people. So many of us want to be known as a trusted advisor, but yet none of our actions in our outreach are providing trusted advice. It's only providing pitches. So leader-led content that connects, not promotes, and then use that content to fuel your entire outreach engine, blogs, emails, newsletters, email campaigns, social content, of course, video content. That's the 3-step framework.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, especially given the current buying environment. So, Brandon, when you were talking about that, one of the things that occurred to me, especially around the creating multiple channels with content, take the same content and use it different ways, is the value of storytelling in that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in sales for over 45 years, and whether it's the Girl Scout in front of the grocery store or the guy or woman selling the $1 million something, they're all good storytellers. And I think they may not even know that they're great storytellers. It just becomes they innately do well. But talk about the value of storytelling.
I think if you agree, if anyone agrees that, and the data supports this, um, most decisions are made from an emotion supported by logic, not the other way around. The book, The Jolt Effect, Matthew Dixon, who wrote Challenger Sales, came out with Jolt Effect maybe 2 years ago. And the data shows, one of the things that they showed in there, and let me actually, was it Jolt Effect or was it Sell the Way You Buy? I gotta figure that out. I think it was Sell the Way You Buy now that I'm thinking about it. Either way, the data showed that it was like 72% of the time, buyers did not make the best decision. They did not make the most logical decision. Well, what does that mean? It means the human, the emotion overrode the perfect logic and made a decision. And this is the way it plays out. I feel like this organization is going to give us the best service. On paper, they may not be as strong. Their features or functions or something may not be exactly what we need, but I feel like they're going to go above and beyond. They're a better consultant for us. They're a better trusted advisor. I trust them better. I feel better connected to them. I feel better about this decision than the other decision. Everything in there, if you agree with that, everything in there is emotion. I feel better about this decision, even though on paper it may not look like it's the right one. That's human emotion. That's our humanity getting into it. So the storytelling and the conversation and acting like a trusted advisor by giving trusted advice is the acceleration to becoming more emotionally trusted, more emotionally connected to your buyers.
Brandon, while you were saying that, what came to mind for me, if emotion didn't matter, all those shiny promotional pieces would work.
Yeah, and if humans weren't human, then you'd be spot on. you
Right.
know? Yeah.
It's interesting. Uh, so, Brandon, I don't want us to run out of time before we. So, have you said everything about go to network instead of market that you want to say?
No, I think so. I mean, I think to summarize it, I mean, go to network is just a mindset shift in selling. We still have the same goals. We want to go into market. We want to sell as much as we can, as fast as we can. We want to talk to as many people as we can. Full stop. In our modern environment, because of all the things we talked about, the internet and Google and search and chat GPT and LinkedIn and YouTube and every other piece of content, all the emails that are coming in, because buyers are keeping all that information at bay now, unless they want to engage with it. Go to network just is a philosophical difference from go to market. How do we go be valuable in our industry so that people want to engage with us? They want to talk to us versus keeping us at bay. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Sure. So I know you have an interesting, we'll call it new venture that Fist Bump is moving into. Tell us about the executive roundtables and
Yeah,
the importance of that.
Sure. So, if you look at the go to network mindset and things like, your show and what you do, you're bringing valuable information into the industry. You do it live on LinkedIn and live on YouTube and live on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you want to go. It's video form, it's information. It should be valuable information. Topics of the shows and guests should be something people go, oh, I'm interested in looking at that. It's along the lines of that go to network mindset. How do we get into the middle of the network and the industry and be valuable so that people want to come? We've done the same thing with what we call our executive voice program. It's just creating content for not just social, not just LinkedIn, but YouTube and blog content and email content, and newsletter content. We just have to share that human story, the human journey, and add value to people where they are. The roundtable concept, what I really like about it is it's I think shows and even LinkedIn content, there's a perception, it's not fully wrong, but it's not fully right. There's a perception that these are long tail. It takes a long time to build value. You're like, oh yeah, I've heard CEOs like, hey, we would love to do a show, but we need sales now. Well, if you follow the framework and you do the show and it's the right type of content, and then you fuel it into your outreach activities, it creates conversations fast. But if you just do a show and you, everybody, we have a show, and you create content, but you never use that content to fuel your outreach, you just go back to the same old outreach of, hey, we do XYZ, you got 30 minutes for a call. Well, then, yeah, your show's going to take a long time to build penetration. I mean, that's number one, really, really important for people to see. I can get frustrated when people go, oh yeah, LinkedIn's great, but it's more of a nice to have. It's only a nice to have if you use it that way. If you build it, they will come. Yeah, it's going to take a long time. But if you create the right content and then use that content in the right way for outreach, then it speeds up your pipe or accelerates your pipeline building, your pipeline growth, and creating your opportunities. So that's number one step. The roundtable concept, it's just a new way of doing what the foundation of what we do, which is how do we get into a network and become valuable? So the roundtable, it's really easy. It's not a pitch. There's no selling. There's no PowerPoint. It's not a webinar where we're going to teach you something because we're going to sell you something at the end. I think a lot of us have gotten used to that. Webinars, oh, you're going to teach me something. Oh, you're not just trying to teach me something. You're actually trying to sell me something. There's so many like CEO roundtable groups. There's, the Vistage, the Convenes, the C21s, and so many others. What's the value of what they do? Well, they'll get 12 CEOs into a group. It's peer-to-peer learning. There's no pitching. There's no selling. It's learning with each other. It's learning from each other. So taking that and adding it into your go-to-network strategy is facilitating these roundtable discussions. It doesn't have to be CEOs, whoever your ideal customer profile is. Create the environment, a virtual roundtable, where people can come together, similar industries, similar, titles, whatever the commonality needs to be. It's CEOs, just really easy example, but create an environment where everybody can come together and learn together and talk and share and listen. So you have a virtual roundtable, and you can do it live if you want in your local environment, but it's just an opportunity for an hour or more where you get like-minded people to come together and learn, share, listen, and be together. It's extremely valuable for business people. What do we ultimately, we want to learn, and we don't want to be pitched. So bring people together. And when you're the one that's coordinating that and you're moderating the discussion, you automatically start to get more credibility. And here's a really important part. You're building good relationship with everybody who attends. So you create registration, people register. If you're worried about competition, you set that way. Hey, it's first come, first serve in these areas because we don't want competitors, because you don't talk in front of your competitors. But you get 20, 30, 40 people in one of these sessions, and you moderate the conversation and let everybody learn together. Here's the value of it, because you're the one that coordinates it. You're the one that puts it together. The next day you start calling everybody that showed up, and you leave them a voicemail if they don't answer, and you go, hey, I'm so grateful that you came. Tell me about your experience. What did you get from it? Facilitating and moderating and creating that automatically gives us some influence. It gives us some credibility, and they're more likely to talk to us. And what I hear is, oh yeah, hey, thanks for putting that on. That was so valuable. And they start sharing what they got from the event, from the roundtable. I learned this. I had been thinking about this. I didn't realize how important it was going to be. I'm starting to take a look at that. And you're just learning with people, but more importantly, you're building a stronger relationship with them. They also happen to be your ideal customer. It doesn't mean go in and start pitching. It just means you're building better relationships with people in your industry. And I'm just a big believer that I mentioned this earlier, the number one salesperson in every company I've ever looked at is the one who is what? Most connected in the industry, knows the most people. So the roundtable and facilitating, moderating, and creating that, it's just another way to become important to your buyers, to become influential and build those relationships with them.
Yeah. And,
And the
also,
key,
go
I was
ahead,
just
please.
saying, the key there is, I just want to make sure people don't realize you're not just, oh, it's a roundtable, and then when the event's over, it's over. No, everybody who showed up, message them, call them. What did you think? What did you gain from it? What should we do different next time? It's like we're all learning together, but it's that outreach opportunity to build deeper relationships and have better conversations with people from a place of being a consultant or being an advisor or being a servant and serving people. Not just now you pick up the next day and you call them and go, hey, thanks for attending. Can I sell you something? And that's unfortunately what we tend to do as salespeople because we're so under so much pressure to sell, sell, sell. Go slow to move fast. Build better relationships and more opportunities come.
That's what I wanted you to speak to as we get near wrapping up here is what you just said. Don't focus on the volume. Don't focus on the speed. Focus on the connection.
Focus on the quality of the connections.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I share this story a lot because it's so valuable and it's so visual. Because of my show and, Mastering Modern Selling, we've been doing over 3 years or about 150 episodes into it. And the content that I create on LinkedIn, I was at the airport. I'm sitting at my gate, pounding away on my laptop before I boarded my plane. And all of a sudden, I get this tap on my shoulder. And I look up, and there's a woman. She goes, Brandon. And I go, hi. I had no idea who she was. But because of my show and the content and the consistency of it, she knew me. And I stand up and she gives me a great big hug and she's like, oh, it's Natalie from LinkedIn. And I'm like, oh, wait, trying to figure it out. Like, oh, yeah. And we talk and she's like, hey, let's have coffee next week. I got to run to my flight. I'm like, yeah, of course. If it wasn't for my show and the content and the style of content, right? That's important too. The style of content. If all I was producing is here's who we are, here's what we do, here's our features, here's our functions, people ignore it. But because I'm sharing more of my journey and my experiences and about conversations I have with people, other people pay more attention to it. Then they know who I am. They remember me. And so much to the point that she was willing to stop as she was late to her plane, running to her plane, stop and say hi to me and introduce herself. And then we had coffee, we had breakfast, we've gotten to know each other. And now we are, in partnership and we refer people to each other. And I've got a lot of stories like that. I've shared with you the one that I was at an event for my daughter's college and there was only like 10 or 12 families in the room on a parents' weekend. And I got another, hey, aren't you Brandon? Yeah. Oh, I watch your show. I'm like, oh, thank you. Let's have coffee. We have coffee and they become a client. It's all about how we position ourselves to be seen as serving the industry, giving real value, using content to do that, not cold call, cold call, cold call, cold call. Do you have time for a meeting? Do you have time for a meeting? Again, I don't hate that, but in modern times, that's got such a low fruit rate, right? It doesn't produce very much success. And believe me, if cold calling still worked well, I would be all in it. My second company, we had a big call center up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and we took that company from 0 to 18 million with cold calling. But cold calling worked then. It was, we didn't have caller ID, we didn't have Google, we didn't have all this stuff. I love cold calling. It's easy. It was easy, but it doesn't work now. So now we have to go, what's next? What's new? How do we build this reputation in an industry? And we have to align ourselves with the way buyers engage content. And if we do it differently, then our content's just not working.
Right. So the tagline for my show is old school wisdom, new school tools. And if you're listening today, don't think, oh holy crap, I got to change everything I've ever done. How am I going to do this? I got no clue. You don't have to do that. This is not about starting over. This is just
Yeah.
about evolving.
Yeah.
People still want to buy. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
People still want to buy from people they know, like, and trust. Just the
Mhm.
way you do that is different. And Brandon helped us with a lot of things about how it's different today. But since I'm one of you, I know you can do that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it's a whole lot easier than dialing the phone 100 times a day or getting
Or 300
200.
times a day.
Or 400, or
Yeah.
sending out 10,000 mass mail things and hoping you get them back. So don't be
Yeah.
afraid. It's not about it. This is not about changing. It's about evolving.
Yeah.
And if we
And
can help you with that, go ahead, please.
let me share this story because I know your audience does a lot of live networking, right? They're in the community. They're going to events. They're meeting people. Um, I was at an event in Atlanta just not too long ago, and it was a small networking dinner. There was going to be about 20, 25 people there. I was invited to it. In the early stages of it, there's about 6 or 7 of us there, and we're all doing the networking thing, right? Everybody's got a drink in their hand. They're talking, getting to know each other, and somebody walks in the room, walks in, and he looks around and he points at me and goes, "LinkedIn guy." I didn't know who he was, but he knew who I was. Now, I don't like being known as a LinkedIn guy. Like I said, my framework is about fueling your entire outreach. I like to be known more about modern selling, and LinkedIn happens to be one of the tools that we use. It's not the only tool, but still, the fact that he walked into the room, scanned the room over about 7 or 8 of us, identified me, and said, "LinkedIn guy." And then, I mean, he had the big personality. He goes, "Hey, everybody in here, if you ever need work with LinkedIn, I've been following this guy for a while. Check out his content. He knows what he's doing. This is really cool." Shouted it to the whole room. And then he came over and I introduced myself and we had a chat. This online world around content, it's not about content, it's about networking, it's about getting face to face time. It's just this screen thing in front of us right now helps us get in front of more people faster. If I was going out today and doing a breakfast, maybe going to a networking event, maybe having a lunch, having an afternoon coffee with somebody, maybe I meet 15, 20 people in a day. And I think that's being generous. But with your content, when you do it well and the type of content, I get in front of thousands of people every day. And then when I'm out and about in the community, I get people that go, "I know you," or "I feel like I know you," or walk up and go, "Man, I see your content." I was at an event on Monday this week and a guy came up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I love your LinkedIn stuff. Keep it up." I'm like, "Oh, thank you. What do you like about it?" And we had a conversation, but he approached me because of my content that he may not have probably wouldn't have came and approached me and introduced himself if he didn't recognize and know who I was. So it's an acceleration to everything that we've already done. It's just new and it's modern and it's a little different. And I'll be honest, the hardest part is getting over ourselves. I get it. Creating content's hard. Putting ourselves out there is hard. That's what I really love about the roundtable. It takes a lot of that fear away. It provides a quicker opportunity for pipeline building and conversations. But I get creating content is hard, but I go all the way back to early in my career. Going to networking events was really hard for me when I first started. But to be successful and not get fired from my sales job, I had to learn how to go work a room in a good, positive way, build the foundation of relationships that I could turn into future meetings. Right now, we just have a new muscle, and we have to be willing to go learn how to do a new skill to be successful and to accelerate our success.
That's great, Brandon. I agree with 100%.
Thank
Um,
you.
just remember, yes, I'll say it one more time. This is not about starting over. It's about evolving. And if you need some help, want some help, want to talk, you reach out to me, reach out to Brandon, put it in the show notes. I'll promise you 2 things. One, If we can't help you, we'll tell you. And two, if we can't help you, we know somebody who can, and we'll point you their
Absolutely.
way. And
Yeah.
I appreciate your time today. Again, reach out if we can help you. And just remember, you got to bridge those generations. And